This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals, joins me today following the release of the final results ending December 2020. Now, George, I wonder if you can give us your thoughts on the finals. You mentioned some difficulties there, particularly with COVID, but in your own words, could you sum up the year for us at Premier?
Sure. Well, summing up the year itself from a general advancement in the projects, we had our difficulties. COVID was one, delays in Zimbabwe and so on was another. But towards the end of the year, with better liquidity coming through, recognition of the value, particularly of our lithium deposit in Zimbabwe, one or two other events as well, we were able to remedy a lot of the issues going back to December 2019. For example, we closed at the end of December this year with just short of $800,000 in the bank. It's reported in our accounts. That was a great turnaround just in itself. The reduction in debt is huge. There's a huge reduction in debt that we've gone through. And we've really been able to reposition Prem from what I refer to as shrink mode back into development and value add and value creation mode. And that I think is the most exciting part of it. I mean, the other thing worth mentioning is that I'm very pleased that for the first time in a couple of years, we weren't under pressure to get our accounts done. It was a pleasure, and it's a pleasure being able to get them out and published without any potential threats of any suspensions or anything like that. So there are a whole lot of issues administratively behind this that I'm very pleased about. And just generally, it positions Prem in so much of a better position. So I'm looking forward to the year. I'm excited as to what we're faced with at the moment.
Okay, so you've transformed the cash position, you've reduced the debt, and you've made a reduction in the expenditure. So you're generally very happy. I wonder, how are things performing from events post the financial year end? So from 2021, this year onwards, how have things been going?
Well, I think the best way to summarize that is a comment that I made in regard to our Zulu Lithium project, where in my notes, investors will see I've said that in 2020, nothing happened. In 2021, it's a complete turnaround. And it really is. The granting of the EPO over the extended area at Zulu, for example, was a massive trigger. It was a trigger both because it's a very exciting extension to what we think is a great deposit, but also because it was a big statement of confidence again in the determination of the Zimbabwe government to get the mining sector moving, to support us as explorationists, and hopefully to see some of the really good deposits in Zimbabwe being advanced and developed. So that's probably the biggest single change and the most exciting thing that's happened to us. Just progressing a little bit on Zulu, we are at a point now where our camp is operational, and that camp is going to expand to accommodate, towards the end of the DFS, it could be anything up to 100 people. So it's a fairly significant infrastructure that's had to be put in place. It's in. There are rigs on site, which is great news. And at the moment, we are busy establishing a complete sample preparation and assay facility at the exploration. Now, the significance of that is big because in Zimbabwe, to take samples out for assay, one is required to obtain export permits and so on and so forth. Then one is at the hands of an external lab, wherever that laboratory may be. And labs at the moment are pretty busy. So what we're then adding to our sample prep is a LIBS analyzer, and we will be able to accurately determine lithium content and various other minerals contained in our samples very rapidly. Obviously, a percentage of this has to go to reference labs for check labs and so on and so forth. Our QA procedure has been written by our consultant, who is actually based out of Toronto in Canada, very knowledgeable individual who's assisting us with that. And we're hoping, because of this, to be able to report results much quicker. It's one thing to say there's a photograph of some core on the ground. It's another thing to be able to say there's the logging, there's the analysis, and there's the impact that this has on the overall deposit, the overall size, and so on. So a lot of work gone into that as well.
Okay. And any update you can give us on progress or what's to come with Ochazondu?
Well, in some ways, I've been disappointed, and I think I've said that on a couple of occasions with the performance. I have to say that it's been COVID related. They've had significant problems with COVID. Those COVID problems have extended into their ability to ship. They've had some of the most extreme rains in Namibia in this last summer that we've seen in a while. Yet, despite all of that, despite delays and difficulties in getting the accounts of a private company basically brought up to an acceptable standard, despite all of that, they are showing a profit. It's reported generally in our accounts. And based on what our external consultants are saying to us, and I've had some pretty knowledgeable guys looking at this operation, they're all telling me that with certain requirements being met, that this should be a very good operation into the future. It's got a big resource, it's got a plant, it's operating, there is some cash being generated, and there's a good future for it, I believe.
Okay. And is there any update that you can share in possible in relation to the board composition or any technical appointments that are under consideration?
Other than to say what I've already said and is in the public domain, that we are actively looking to add competencies to our board, and that there are some active discussions and negotiations ongoing. I can't go much further than that, except, I suppose, to say that I'm hoping to bring this to fruition pretty quickly. And I'm hoping that the effect is going to be just what I'm hoping for, to demonstrate a much higher level of credibility, competency, technical capacity, and maybe a few other things as well. So that's where I'm trying to go with it. Unfortunately, I can't go any further at the moment on that, though.
Okay. Well, we can certainly watch this space. Just a final question for you, George. How do you feel about the share price performance and also the current market sentiment, where we are now in the summer, but Prem seems to be holding up pretty well?
Look, this issue of summer in the UK is not summer in Zimbabwe, where we're busy working at Zulu. This is the dry season. This is the best season for us to work. This is when we're going to get most of our work done. This is when we've got no farmers in the field that we have to worry about. All their crops are out, etc., etc. So I think that's quite good news. It's a good time for exploration in the southern hemisphere. In terms of the performance of our market capitalization and so on, I think this is beginning to more realistically reflect not just the value, but also the potential that sits in Zulu in particular, but also in some of our other projects. I don't think it's Zulu alone. I think that there is going to be more than just Zulu, which is obviously the biggest driver, but I think there's going to be more than just Zulu coming out of Prem as we progress for the rest of 2021. So I'm excited about it. I'd like to see it continuing to improve. And our focus is on adding the underlying value that I hope will support that.
Okay, well, we look forward to following the story. George Roach there, the CEO of Premier African Minerals. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.